Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira. How are you? We are on Munira's Musings. We talk about niches every week. We showcase a person and we bring in the perspective of what is happening in this other person's world and how they're using their gifts to help other people. Our guest today is Cheri Timko. Hi, Cheri. Welcome to Munira's Musings.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Where are you calling us from, Cheri?
I'm in Fairmont, West Virginia.
That's awesome, right? That's a beautiful state. And I think the fall colors have come in.
Yeah, we're just starting to get leaves, the colors changing. So it is very, very beautiful here.
Isn't it wonderful that change happens so naturally in the nature world? So what does that tell us about us, that we need to change? And if you are standing on the sidelines thinking that you need to make a change in your life, go ahead and take the first step of one, listening to this podcast, two, subscribing to us. Bring in your people to listen to this, because you never know who you're going to hear and whose life our speakers impact positively. So without further ado, let's talk to Cheri. Cheri, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am both a psychotherapist and a coach, and in both, I specialize in working with couples and helping them have really extraordinary relationships.
So they say marriages are made in heaven, right?
Well, I guess I have a nuanced opinion about that. I think that lots of couples can be happy, and it's more about figuring out how to live well with your partner than having a match made in heaven that's going to meet all of those needs. You got to kind of figure out what works and then do that well together.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
Wait, you said you were a psychotherapist?
Yes.
Okay. So what does a psychotherapist do, and how is that different from a psychiatrist? Because that's a word everybody's familiar with.
A psychiatrist is a medical doctor. They are trained in medicine and in Western medical thinking. So they're looking for what's not working properly in the body. A psychiatrist focuses on medications as a primary strategy to help people live better. A psychotherapist does counseling and therapy. They are concerned about the mind, body, and social interaction. And when I think about how a couple interacts, I think about their relationship with each other. I think about their relationship to the world, their relationship with their kids, and how they think about themselves. So they're very different ways of thinking. And then you throw in the coaching, which is a different way of thinking. Psychotherapy is what happened in your past, what's happening now, and how do you change it for the future? And coaching is what's happening now, how do we adjust how you're getting along in the world, and how do we give you the skills so that you can do better in the future? So there's three, they're kind of overlapping a little bit, but there's a lot of difference between them.
So you are a trained psychotherapist, like the schooling and everything is a psychotherapist.
Yeah, I've been a psychotherapist for almost 20 years and have been in the mental health field for almost 30.
That's awesome. So what sparked your interest in that field?
Well, I remember being pretty young and people coming to me with their problems and just talking through things. And it was something that I was good at and enjoyed. So when I was in college, I started studying psychology and I started working at a shelter for homeless and runaway teenagers. And I loved that work. Just love helping kids have better lives. So then what happened is I got kind of frustrated because teenagers don't have much say over their lives. So I was mostly teaching them to think about their future and um, to kind of wait patiently until they were adults. So from there, I moved into family work. And I knew if I could get the parents to work better with the kids, that the kids' lives would get better. And then when I got into psychotherapy, I started working with couples. And what I realized is the work that I do with couples gets them on the same page and helps them work better together. And if I do that, I can make the kids' lives better, even without the kids being in the room.
So indirectly, even though you are working with couples, you're still working, it's the welfare of the kids that you're ultimately focused on. But you have to work with the adults, because most people, sometimes adults can behave like kids, right? So, I know you're not saying it, but I can because I know nothing about this subject. So let me ask you this, right? The couples that you work with, are they veterans in marriage? Like, have they been married more than 5 years or 10 years? Or is there like a niche that you focused on, that if they are, they have teenage kids, that's when you come into their lives? What is that niche in couples that you work with?
I actually have two niches, because I have my psychotherapy niche and then I have my coaching niche, and they're overlapping, but they're not exactly the same. So in psychotherapy, I work with couples mostly in crisis. Now, I've worked with couples who are not even married yet, all the way up to couples who've been married for 40 years. But most of the time, there is some sort of crisis that happened that is bringing them to therapy. In my in my coaching practice, I am much more focused on couples who feel lonely and disconnected and agitated with each other. I don't know if you've experienced this in your own world, but I know that sometimes it's really easy to just get agitated and frustrated with your partner, and just everything that they do rubs you wrong. Well, that is my niche in coaching, and I do a lot more group programs, courses, and then one-on-one coaching there.
That's really awesome, right? Because so not the fact that the couples are aggravated with each other, but the fact that you can come in as a referee and help them out. But let me ask you this: what's the primary thing that allows couples to be irritated? What's the common theme, if you will?
I think that we have some unrealistic expectations about what's going to happen in a marriage. A lot of people think that it's okay to bring back whatever frustrations they have with the rest of the world, and that their family is going to be able to absorb it. And so just feeling agitated about other things not going well. But then ultimately, I know that I can have an irritating day, and I know it isn't my husband's fault, but I'll come home and it won't take much for me to just turn that irritation on him and just be really frustrated with him, kind of as a lightning rod for that frustration. And I think I think there's room for some of that. That relationship is, especially when it's really strong, can take that. But as a habit, as something that's ongoing, it really can kind of poison the love that you feel for one another.
So expectation is the key word here. Expectations
And bad habits. So this is one of the things I love to talk about, is that we all have habits in our relationship, and they can be good or bad. And sometimes we get into the bad habit of bringing stuff to our partner that's not really about them. It's much better when we develop good habits that keep us connected and grounded, feel secure in the relationship.
Thank you so much for sharing this information. For those people who are just joining us, we are here with Cheri Timko, all the way from Virginia, and she is a psychotherapist and a coach, and she specializes in couples counseling and coaching, right? And we are talking about how she helps couples get back on the same page, right? And the fact that the irritation then trickles down to the kids, and sometimes the kids get it, right? They get neglected or they get beaten up, right? I was a child where my father didn't spare the rod, if you will, but that was the culture and that was what it was. Today in this world, we are not allowed to do that because now the law steps in. But it is what it is, and there's so many children who are then products of this irritation, if you will. So what do you tell couples? I mean, there has to be love in between, and then of course they're frustrated with something. What do you tell couples? At least give us 2 tips that they should do before this gets out of hand.
All right, so I think that couples need good relationship habits. It isn't the whole picture. In order to have a good relationship, you need 3 systems to work well. You need good relationship habits. These are the things that you do every day that keep the relationship grounded and connected. You need a way to work through problems so that either of you can bring up an issue and then you talk it back and forth until you come up with a solution that you both feel good about. And the third system is a way to clean up messes between the 2 of them. So couples will always, at some point, let their partner down. It might be by not picking up a cue. It could be by saying something more harsh or irritable, and they need ways to clean that up when that mess happens. So having good relationship habits is pretty easy and straightforward, because those are the things that you do every day that keep you connected, keep you feeling grounded and close with one another. And they're tiny little simple things that need to happen, like saying good morning or having a hug or a kiss when they come in from work.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, give me an example of what you mean. Okay, go on. Go on.
It can be eating dinner together. It can be texting each other throughout the day to keep connected. But they're things that happen automatically. You don't have to think about them because they happen every day. Now, one of the mistakes that couples make is that they only do those things when they feel it. Oh, I feel like that. I like you. I want to reach out to you. But your relationship needs you to do those things even when you don't feel it. It needs to be more of a habit. So that would be one of the things that I would suggest for couples, is to think about what your habits are, and are you doing the things that keep you feeling connected and close? Do you do them every day? So the other part of this is the way to clean up messes. We need specific repair tools that you know are going to make a difference in your relationship. The most straightforward is to say, I'm sorry. Now, using a good apology. People are notoriously bad at apologizing. But that's a straightforward example of a repair that most people understand.
No, that's awesome, right? And then just to say sorry, right? People make mistakes all the time, but when they say I'm sorry, it makes the other person feel better. That 1, you've acknowledged your mistake, and 2, you're making the other person feel better. So I love these tips.
As long as it's a good apology, because I'm sorry, but it's your fault is a bad apology.
Ah, that's when the whole thing starts again, right?
Right.
I know, and that works. So, why do you think that people have fights in the first place?
Well, we are supposed to be different from our partner. Like we're supposed to have two people with two different personalities. And I think when we first start dating, there's this illusion that we are on the same page and we feel the same way about things and we think the same way. But it's later in the relationship when people realize that they're two different people. And a good relationship allows both personalities to be present in the relationship and form the relationship. So I think a lot of people get into arguments because they want their spouse to think more like they do or be more like they are.
So I've always heard, and I may completely mess up the context, is like two people meet, then she's supposed to change him, and then she thinks, what did I create, or why are you like this? You want the same person I married. So why is that an expectation in couples?
I don't know. I am sure that there's a lot culturally, there's a lot to do with male-female roles. There's all sorts of reasons why people think that they should be more alike, and why people think that they should be able to change each other. In reality, we do change each other, but it's rarely because we set out and say, I'm going to change this thing in you. When it works well, couples naturally gravitate towards each other more than maybe they would have been otherwise. But I don't know if there's a straightforward answer to that. I think it's more complicated.
So at what point should they seek out a psychotherapist like you?
So psychotherapy, if you were in crisis or you want to improve your relationship, you see the same cycle over and over again, definitely seeking out a psychotherapist will help break that cycle and get things moving in a different direction. The coaching I think of more as leveling up. Like wherever you are, you could have a better relationship. And it's not that complicated to have a better relationship. You just have to be thoughtful and intentional about it, and find tools that are really going to work for you guys as a couple. So seeking that out earlier is always better than waiting until there's a crisis, because we want to live well together.
Awesome. Now you said something about you help couples who are very new in their marriage up to 40 years into marriage. What's your success with, I mean, when have you felt the most successful when you've done what you've done, and what was the couple's age into marriage?
Well, this is very hard for me to answer, not the success, but the who is successful, because I think that there's not a formula in terms of where people are in their marriage. I think what I have seen is that the couples who make it are the couples where they are both committed to working on the relationship. Now, they don't have to be equally committed, but one of them can't say, well, I'm on my way out the door and I'm not going to work on it. And the other one's like, hey, let's save this marriage. But they have to both have some little bit of hope that they could be good together. And so it is that commitment piece more than where they are in crisis, where they are in stage in relationship. It's that desire to really figure it out.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So where do we find you, Cheri?
Well, I'll share my new project because it's really exciting to me. I have a free Facebook group. It's called Date Night Community. And it is to encourage couples to spend some time together every week. Now, we all know that our relationships really suffer when we don't spend time with our partner. And so this is a group where I have a bunch of different ways, but it encourages couples to spend time together, provides inspiration and encouragement, lots of different ideas about how you can spend time together, and a little bit of accountability to stay committed to that. And that's on Facebook.
Awesome. That's awesome, right? So, and then anybody can join regardless of age?
Yep.
And do you recommend that couples join as a couple?
They can, or just one of them. I think we have a variety. We do have some guys in the community, but I think mostly it's one partner, and maybe they share the information with their partner, or they show up together, whatever is going to be most effective for a couple.
So after this interview, would you please put that link of that group into our chat, because then everybody will be interested in joining. But I have one more question to ask you, because this is just killing me. Do you think men or women are committed? Which one is committed to save their marriage?
All right. So I think that both are committed to saving their marriage. I think that women have kind of an earlier sense of when things are going wrong. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Some of that is cultural, some of that is traditional roles that we play. I think that mostly it is women who get that first clue that things are not going exactly the way they hope it will. So mostly women are. But in my therapy practice, I do have a lot of men who reach out to me as well. It's still overwhelmingly women, but I do have more men than I think I expect.
Wonderful, lovely, lovely, lovely. So thank you, Cheri. I appreciate you being here on Munira's Musings, because this is a completely different new niche that I'm learning about, that you are here to make a difference in couples' lives. And it's not one person you're impacting, but two people, individuals who have come together in a marriage, and children, if possible, in that marriage who you are helping out. So it's a collective term, and it's really amazing what you are doing. So thank you so much for that service.
Well, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have Cheri, who she's impacting lives, she's impacting couples. And the fact that, people do have misunderstandings, people do have expectations, and sometimes it doesn't come out to whatever, but instead of being very, very angry, let's talk about it and resolve this, because you never know where this strategy is going to take you to the next level in your marriage. So let's just talk about it. And I know for a fact that, in our culture, there's no talking, there's always words, and that's not right. So but it's okay. So we are learning in this journey, and if you are a person who has been impacted with this talk, go ahead and share, like, subscribe, and give us a comment on how you think this can or will change your life. And if you are somebody who wants to be on Munira's Musings, just share your name and contact me. I will share my calendar with you and have you on my show. But here's the other thing. I want you all to take the next step in your life to do something great, and go ahead, come back next week and find a new person who is going to share their niche, their story, their accolades, and impact they make on other people. Hope to see you soon. And thank you, Cheri, for being on Munira's Musings.
It was my privilege. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and everybody have a good week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group.